We're back on the RX-7. You know, in the last episode, we had Brian for RotarRehab help us out. We took a lot of his advice, and Mike, in his off time, kind of corked up the carburetor, gave
the
it a
boring
good clean.
stuff.
Yeah, kind of like the
didn't do much to it, but like we took the carb off. I took it back to the house and just spent the night cleaning it. I didn't actually rebuild it because the kit didn't come in until like yesterday.
Yeah.
So instead, I just cleaned it up, cycled everything through. We pulled off a couple random solenoids that I know didn't go to anything, but I know there's more we can pull off of it. So we'll do that next time.
Today, basically what we're doing is actually Brian, again, from RotarRehab, is having an event at the track.
Yeah, called Sevens Day, July 7th, so 7/7.
Yeah.
So we're getting the car prepped because it's a all-day event of fun here in Albuquerque at Sandia Speedway.
Suki
Circuit. Yeah.
There used to be Sandia. So we're trying to hopefully be able to get this on track. There's still a lot we have to do where it would be like really roadworthy. So I think at best we'd be able to go around the track
for sure
and maybe pass, but we really don't want to push the car yet because there's a lot of stuff with the suspension. It's
engine
still missing lugs and all that.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and do all that before we go. In a worst case scenario, we're going to go support, kind of check out all the other RX, maybe gather some more information.
Definitely more info because we know nothing of these.
Yeah. In this video today, we're going to catch him up to speed.
Yeah,
kind of show you through some of the stuff that he did in the off time that we weren't able to film. And then we have a couple projects today that we need to get done.
To addressing the gauge issue, instead of trying to hook up the, basically, as some people call them, dummy gauges on the dash, where it doesn't really tell you, just there's a needle, and it'll say if it's broke or not.
Yeah.
I did went and pick up a water gauge. I have oil pressure gauge, but we left that, so we're going to get that one hooked up later. But we have a water temp gauge because that's super important.
Yeah.
So actually, this was just off from AutoZone. And so we're going to get this hooked up and installed. Also, since the carb didn't have an air cleaner, this is not a big thing, but we bought a cheap, I guess not
universal,
one of those universal cold air intake filter, pod filters is what, you can call them. But this is not going to take more than 2 seconds to install, but we're just going to plop this on top of that carburetor to keep out any dust or dirt for now. I was going to try to find a stock air box. Those are like $200.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it. Maybe if I come across one for free, or
if you
like
guys have one,
you want to send it,
we'll pay for
I'll
shipping.
definitely rather just throw that on there than buy a tube out. And then we got our fuel pump. We're going to get that all hooked up. There is power going to the pump, so that's good. So we just going to put new lines, get this fuel cell hooked up and bolted in and done.
And then ultimately what we also want to do is maybe even if it's just driving around our little like parking lot here, but prove to you guys that it actually does run.
Moves.
Mike did put in the drive shaft.
Is bolted in. It came without it because he flat towed it.
Yeah.
So there was the question of, was it actually broken and that's why they pulled the drive shaft out, or because he flat towed it and didn't want to ruin it?
Yeah.
So the drive shaft is in.
As far as we know, just pulling it in, the clutch is in working condition.
Yeah. And then we have this sweet exhaust I built actually this morning. So this was the pipe that it came with.
Just to there.
So when we got the car, this was the whole extent of the exhaust. Someone obviously cut it off, and it was loud, as you seen in the last video. So
not a good loud.
Not a great loud. It's just annoying. And not like we did much more, but we welded on a cherry bomb. And I think I was talking to Daniel. I don't even think this is a real cherry bomb. I think it's a knockoff cherry bomb because the inside doesn't look like a normal. Anyway, so we kind of just welded some pipes together. This was the tip that was like screwed to the exhaust. This makes sense. This little piece down there, this piece was
welded this to the down pipe.
So I just wanted to reuse it because I thought it was funny. So it kind of has a turn down-ish. It's terrible, but
that doesn't scrape.
Yeah, so we're gonna get this on there, but for now, this is just gonna help get some of the exhaust gases, at least not from collecting underneath. Anyways, so there is this exhaust. We'll get that bolted on. So we'll see how it sounds when it's running with that. We're gonna show you the fuel system, get that all hooked up and done, so you can kind of get an idea of what we've done for that. Cool. Let's get this up in there, and I'll show you all this. Go. The other side only has 2. And check out how old those tires are. 02 for dating tires, because obviously these are super old tires. You could tell just because it cracked. But if you come in here, there's this stamped part. It doesn't look like anything else like the molded part. This is actually stamped in there. And, well, it's upside down, but it says 0602. So I double checked, but that's the week it was made. So the 6th week of the year in 2002. So that's how old these tires are.
Yeah.
So it's 21
years old. 21, yeah.
21 years old. No, so we're going to put those knockoff weird Chinese Bovo brand tires
off the old
wheels, because those are new. So yeah. Anyways, all right. So underneath, so we have the drive shaft back in, and truthfully, these are bolts I found in the car. These I don't think are grade 9 bolts. I think they're grade 6 bolts. These are going to get replaced, just because I don't think they're going to hold up. So we are going to go ahead and get some grade 10 bolts put into the drive shaft so they don't just shear off or, all this horsepower and torque.
80 pounds.
Yeah.
80.
But those are coming off. And also Brian had suggested doing the sway bar for racing. So the rear sway bar is gone. There wasn't much left of bushings anyways. And an issue I found with these, and I'll show you, is this that holds the sway bar on. You can't pull out the entire bolt. So I noticed you could take these off, but truthfully, I don't want to do that. They're not hurting anything here,
just a little bit.
So we're just going to leave them. Up under here is where the stock fuel pump would have lived, and I believe it would have been underneath this shield, and it's not there anymore. So we have a standard, just generic fuel pump from AutoZone or Napa, one of those parts stores, and I wired it in here, and luckily the wiring is still working for the fuel pump relay. So I didn't have to put a switch on. It's just with the key. Makes things a lot easier. I ran all new fuel line. I think it's all 5/16 low pressure fuel line from here to these metal lines that run all the way up to the front. And then for underneath our fuel cell, which we're going to show you, we're going to get that mounted. But these are the fuel lines for it. Just popped out those drain plugs for the spare tire. And I think what I'm going to eventually do is cut those and use those grommets to actually run the line through it so it's nice and secured and not rubbing on metal. And actually reuse some of the hard line that goes up over for the suspension, the rear axle, because it's more secure, right? Now, instead of this all drooping all the way down to the pump, we ran into these hard lines that run back down to the pump. Kind of reuse some stock stuff, some new stuff.
And you cleaned them out too, right? Like
so we're going to show you the one, I wish I recorded starting it, but there's the first crank of the pump. I'm going to get the fuel filter to show you real quick. So we're going to show you up under the hood. We have new lines and fuel filter, but initially wanted to see what happened. So when we went to crank it, this was a brand new fuel filter and it turned completely black, filled with sediment. That was just out of the one hard line that ran from the back to the front. So obviously shut that off. Dump brake cleaner down it, air pressure, cleaned it all out. And it's pretty clean now. I mean, there's still a filter on the other end of it to be safe. But we'll see. I don't think there's going to be much particles coming off of it now. But it got really gross right off the bat. So clean those lines out even before. I wish I would have done it first. But
it is what it is.
It is what it is. So we have the fuel pump up. Let's try to get that exhaust mounted since it's already up in the air, I say. And that way, when we get it started and running, it's going to be
not the most awful.
Not the most awful.
All right, what are you doing?
Okay, so
what
this is this is called track prep. No, this is
it's safety wire.
It's safety wire. So we don't have safety squint.
Safety squint.
I saw that. It sounds like it's funny.
Hashtag safety squint.
Hashtag safety squint. So the exhaust is completely cut out of this car. Luckily, they kept most of the bracketry and everything. And like I said, we're kind of getting an idea right now just looking at it. But these two hangers across here for the exhaust. So I just ran the wire there because even if with Daniel's help, but it'll be easier to slide this there. And hopefully I welded these angles right. This was all just done at home. So if we have to, we might have to cut some was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Coming in this way. And hopefully these angles are close and not going to rub on anything. Oh, man, it's going to be... All right, maybe we'll just do this stuff. Oh, yeah, that's the drive shaft.
You love putting your exhaust in the drive shaft.
So the piece I welded on actually was the thing that we should have not put on. Let's put the half-ass gasket on here real quick. And then let me run this bolt in. I'm going to put my exhaust bracketry.
High tech.
Up here. Oh, come on. Okay. Yeah. Oh, no, you're good. Just if it's not going to fall. Okay. It is just right on the drive shaft. That's perfect. Oh! Luckily, I was standing there.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm just keeping it in here so we can keep the holes lined up.
Yeah.
I planned on that. Look at that clearance. And look at how it's... Oh, it's pushing this into there. That'll self-clear. Perfect. We bolted it through, and it holds. I kind of just hung on this to bend it down. And so now we're clearing of the drive shaft. It did hit it for a minute. This was, like I said, we just knocked this up this morning. I mean, right before we came over, just to have something instead of it dumping out. So now at least it's exiting all the way out here and just getting our diff really hot for when we're running. But that'll be it. Also, speak of diff, we will be doing a diff change fluid, not this time around, but I did pull this diff out. The fluid was good in it because we're also just going to go over all the fluids. But the diff fluid seemed okay. We also have a lead on a potential GSL rear diff. If that happens, so it's limited slip and disc. So I don't want to put any money into this at all, like even fluid-wise, because we probably won't need it.
Yeah.
Just in case, though. So I checked to make sure that has fluid. And now we're going to lower this car down. We're going to start showing you up underneath the hood and all the engine stuff.
See, we do read the instructions.
Okay. All right. So we have the water gauge here. We're just sorting out where we're going to hook it up. And there's zero looking this up. But the last time we were in here, I noticed down here by the water neck, there's a bolt staying right there. So there was two wires sticking out there, just broke off, corroded, and they're gone. I actually believe that hooked to the carburetor for choke. And so there's some system for coolant, but I'm hoping we could pop this one off, use this one adapter here to thread in, to then thread in our temp sensor into that, and then we'll be golden. And if that doesn't work, which I don't see why it wouldn't, we'll plan.
Well, unless it doesn't thread in.
Oh, yeah, unless it doesn't thread in, then we're just shit out of luck, and we're going to have to find another coolant temp port. As we can see underneath the hood here, here's our intake, and this is going to be our little filter for now. I think, and Daniel had a good idea, and I didn't think about this till he said it, is I'm going to take this stud out, probably go find a longer bolt or stud, and we're just going to drill a hole straight through this. So that way it's kind of like a stock one. You could just tighten it down and it's nice and tight, snug. For now, we're just going to use the thing because basically there's only like 1/8 of an inch lip on this.
Small lip.
So even with this and then putting this clamp on here, it's not enough to grab it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be just enough to hold it probably, but if we're actually on the track, and I don't trust it. So we're going to get this off, find a longer bolt that'll go down there and be able to just bolt this down. And then with the Nicky carb here, I think the throttle cable is a little stretched out more than stock, so it's been hard to get that adjusted. So I've actually just been bending up the throttle slot to help adjust the idle.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of zip tied on there to keep it from falling off. We've pulled off some of these vacuum port thingies. There's a thing here and something over here. Took all that off because that wasn't needed. And then I'll show you all of our plugs. So we've capped off our air box thing for emissions is there. We have some more over down here, and I think one way underneath there. But we got rid of the air pump because it was just sitting there, and we capped off all of those holes, and then also ran our vacuum advance lines to there. And then on this side, you could see we figured it out. That fusible link needs power constant for it to start. So now that's working. As we said before, we're going to need to cover this for racing, and this battery needs to be strapped down. But I just wrapped this up because there was some exposed stuff. It's not the prettiest, but it's there.
Yeah.
That was our issue, was that fusible link was not getting power, which wouldn't start with a key. Also, replaced a couple wires for the alternator. Come to find out, Brian said this is the most important plug. This is for your RPM gauge on this side. This one is going to be your actual spark and ignition. So this wire is really important. So these are all replaced. Same with just patched up the alternator wire, and that's all good to go. And as you can see, here's our new fuel lines. It has a check valve that I kept in and our filter, and it's a little cleaner than the first one, which is good. That's just from starting up, making sure the pump goes. So we have fuel pressure, everything's good to go. So we're gonna get that water temp gauge hooked up, put this on, and we're gonna start this thing up. See if it sounds like crap.
Also, just as a quick update, because from when Brian was here, the last couple episodes, it does have water in it, and it's holding mainly. You said the cap leaked a little bit.
I think it just leaked pulling off the cap. But yeah, Daniel's right. There's no water leaks whatsoever. Surprising, because if you look at this radiator, it's not the prettiest,
especially down here. So we'll see the
beat
cooling.
Up. Or if the cooling is garbage, that's going to be the next big upgrade, is getting the cooling system operating right and getting that oil cooler external one hooked up so we don't have anything mixing.
All right, so we're pulling out some cooling stuff since we're not using it anyways.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be this easy, but somebody has already been in here, go figure, and loosened up, if not took off all the bolts.
We already took out the fan over there.
There's a condenser?
Yeah, there's a condenser in there.
All right.
Man, that's another like 5 pounds.
Well, that wasn't hard.
And that's probably 3 pounds. It's a 10-pound reduction. So we're doing that so we can use the grommet holes to run the water and anything else that we want to run through that, because it's already like nice soft foam. So we're hoping to get it through this hole right here and then just snake it.
Where is
there.
It? Right there?
Yeah, that's the bottom one. But either one, we're up, and that's the top one.
Let's see if it's big enough. Okay, cool.
Here we go.
Pull it through. All right, that'll work. We're going to do this plug first, just so this, because once it's all together, it twists the whole wire. So like where this spins on itself, right? But once this is all pinched together, you have to twist the whole thing. So then this whole wire is going to get twisted.
Which is probably why they have it.
And it's going to be a pain. Yeah, so we're going to pull it, put this one in, then plug it, and then put that on.
Is it really pouring out?
It's not too bad. It's pretty controllable, honestly. I'm surprised. So there's a fail. Hopefully we could figure it out before Friday. But our water temp gauge, so we found this is the wrong thread for it, which is the adapter for it. But I started, which you just saw, I was excited because this threads into it. But the issue is the hole is bigger than the shoulder on the temp probe. So when this goes in, this just floats in there. This has nothing to seal up against or hold. So this just floats around. So it's just going to leak. And this is too big, because basically what we need to do is, if this was the engine block itself, this tightens down, it pinches this in there and keeps any leaks.
Holds it steady.
Holds it steady, yeah. So the issue is the threads are the same as this, which don't have a shoulder. So we're hoping maybe to find something that is the same threads as this, but we can put over it to hold it and then thread that in. We will see. So we're going to go search for that. But for now, we're just out of luck. For now, we got nothing. So we're going to see if we can find something for us. But we're going to move on. We're going to show you the fuel cell, and we're going to get our filter, our full intake mounted, which is going to be, for now, that. There we go.
Done.
So I'm just going to tighten down this clamp, and then hopefully it stays on. Also going to hook up the sending unit. We're going to see if we can get this to work. This is our fuel cell. Okay. So we have these big dash 610 fittings, whatever these ones are. So this is what's underneath the fuel cell, down on the bottom. And we don't need fuel line that big. So these two vent lines, this is that return line off the carb. So it goes into this 5/16. It's hard to get off now, but it's a barbed fitting to this, and it's tightened down. So that's a return line. And the same thing down here on the fuel cell, way down in here is the feed line, and it is with a barbed fitting, and it is on there, never coming off.
Good.
Which is awesome. And then all we had done to mount this, and I'm going to say right now, this isn't permanent by any means, because I would never trust, but we have riv nuts through the floor of the trunk, and these nuts, bolts down here, whatever, with big old washers. So these little gold washer thingies. So that's all mounted there. So we're going to splice these together real quick to see if our sending unit in here will read. And I'm guessing this is the wire for it, just because this is the only other wire down there that wasn't the fuel pump wiring. So we're going to hook this up real quick, and then we're going to fill it up with gas to see if it reads anything on the gauge itself. I have no idea which ones are what, but I'm going to hook up the yellow wire to the yellow wire and the black wire to the green wire, I guess. I don't even know if this is the sending unit gauge or if this is like something else and it's going to send power to the fuel and then everything's going to blow up. But cool. So this is what's so shitty is that it's under here. We have to pop this, do that. We're going to grab... All right, so we have some 2-stroke engine oil. Someone's going to tell me I shouldn't use this, but it is decent enough. So what do we have? I think it's like 4 gallons. And then we'll pour the gas in, and it'll mix. Oh, made it.
Kind of.
Okay, there's almost 5 gallons, and it looks halfway-ish.
Yep.
It's all the way up.
It's halfway, a little above halfway.
I was just holding them together to short it out.
Oh, okay.
So now, let's see. I just wanted to see if it would work.
Yeah.
And it does work. At least the gauge does.
Oh, sorry.
One works.
One works.
Oh, it went back up when I dropped it. So I was lifting it all the way.
And it was doing the opposite. Wouldn't that mean the wires are switched?
Yeah, but I thought I swapped them.
Now it's going up.
Yeah, let's see if it climbs all the way almost to the top or halfway. So basically, if empty is, it'll be full and full will be empty. Because if it's not wanting to work the other direction for some reason. Cool. So we figured out kind of the thing works. This is going to the gauge. So we're going to solder in a little extension just because the wires are a little too short. But what we're going to keep is we're going to keep a plug on the other side so we can, if we're wrong, we can just unplug and swap them. Some spade connectors. So
yeah,
I'm going to solder this on real quick, get that hooked up. What we've experimented with is that one to there, that one to there. And we'll see how that goes, because then we'll just do some electrical tape around it just so we don't have any sparking.
Yeah.
But
Sparking around a
fuel cell.
Yeah. May not be the best.
No, definitely not.
May not pass inspection.
That'll work. Cool. So what we found is once we filled it up with gas and we sealed it, the thing started just puking out of one of the bolt holes itself. I had all this sealed up, it started just puking fuel out of here. And obviously we don't want to just leave this open to vent to the inside of the car.
Huffing gas the whole time you're racing.
Definitely never going to be using, well, I say never, but I don't plan on building.
Likely.
I don't plan on building a 500 horsepower rotary, so I won't need a 1/2-inch thick hose. But we do have it, and we have these adapters, so I'm going to just throw this 90 on here, and then run this down and out that hole down there to give us a nice vent, just so we don't die of fumes. So we're just going to wrap the braided part a couple times so it doesn't come undone. Also, right, the other end so it doesn't just fray while it's being stored. Because the way these work, it's the compression. So you stick, let's see if this one works. I'd rather have the gougey side. Basically, yeah, it shoves into there, and then you screw in this, and it's going to compress it up against there. Yeah. Head out of there. There. You're good now if you want to hop up. I know it looks sketchy, but that way
it's just less likely to dump out.
Yeah, now the fuel can't just dump straight out.
I mean, some might, but it's if you're really on it. But
yeah, so that way, yeah, if we're not, when it's sloshing back and forth, it's going to have a harder time going uphill to come back down. And if it does, then, well, now it's going to be dumping out the back. To start up, like, you know, we have had it running, but I'm pretty stoked that I got it to turn with the key, except if I turn the headlights on, yeah. So when you turn the headlights on,
but it won't actually start.
I don't think it'll actually start.
Like the ignition's not.
Yeah. So
weird.
That needs to be fixed. The headlight switch.
And you told everyone how to steal it.
Oh. Let's see. I think we just got to adjust the idle a little more.
Yeah. It's got so much body roll in the rear. You'll see it in the video.
Oh, yeah, because there's no sway bar, I guess. So
how's the clutch feel?
Oh, the clutch is great. The thing is, I didn't think I'd be that big for this car, but my knee, like, this is how much space I have. So I'm trying to hit the gas, and I can't turn because my leg. So the steering wheel needs to come out closer to me,
you know,
to clear my knee.
Or the seat needs
to go and back, down and back, because this is as far as this crappy thing goes. Immediate address is a deeper dish wheel, seat lower, and then I'll have a better riding position. But it's idling. There's 1,000 RPMs. It has a little hiccup here and there, but honestly, it's not bad. Yeah, that's blown out. There is no shocks on this thing whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly happy with the exhaust. It was god awful without anything.
I mean, it's rowdy when you get on it outside,
But at least idling, we
yeah,
can
here,
talk.
hold this. I'll rev it a little.
Okay.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't care. So Daniel's going to get in there.
Don't slam it.
Oh, yeah, the window's not on its track. Here you go. Oh, yeah. Look at that.
I cannot see. Ah,
nice.
it's fun. I mean, obviously, that's just a little parking lot.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get it out on the street tomorrow.
I mean, I think even if we aren't able to get on track, just driving around the parking lot area there.
Yeah. So I wanted to point out, and it wasn't just because Daniel was at the car. So on this side, there's one of those spring pads which you get driver's lean, and so I'm pretty sure, since how blown out everything is on this,
I'm a heavy boy, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's just shot. And so they had one on this side to lift it up slightly. I pulled it out because I just don't want it in there. So these springs, everything suspension-wise on this, it's just wore out completely. Yeah. So that's just telling me they've put one of those spaces there to lift that side up just to level it out. And now that it's gone, and we've moved around on it, you could see just how much is driver's lean on it. With you in it, just sitting here, it had it. So future, definitely springs. It's going to need new springs because I think we're not going to...
Springs and shocks.
Yeah, springs and shocks. That's it for now. We still got those couple other fittings so that we need to get that water gauge hooked up just for how hot it is lately. We want to know if it's going to overheat. And but we have some gas gauge now, which is cool. And the fuel tank is all hooked up now. So the pump works, the valve, it's filled, it's vented.
Breathing, right?
So that's cool. But that's it. And then it definitely, those tires, you can see all the marks if you can. Yeah, I think so. That's not donuts. That's just tire
that's
marks.
Just the rub.
Just rubbing on there because it's just so shot.
Oh, and we should show them too the
so one night I decided just to try to get the front bumper on, if you want to call it, the valence. So it's on there right now. I think it looks good. Sick. There's just self-tappers holding it up along the top.
But I think it just fills in that nose so much. And
so if we want to
look sharp.
Yeah, you could see. That's going to wrap up today. Just touch up. We got that exhaust on. We got some things done. We found out a lot of things aren't going to work, so we're going to get those fixed. Anyways, thanks for watching, and let us know on your two-stroke oil, do you put it in the gas first, then put it in, or do you put it in the tank? Anyways, what is your method of when you do two-stroke mix? How do you mix it? Because I've heard a lot of different things, and I don't think it matters. Yeah.
We'll see if it matters.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. See ya.